So I'm just taking a look at the paraphernalia, which is the throttle linkage. So that's the go pedal, which runs along the top of the inside of the footwell, then exits and picks up on that bracket. And then there's some convoluted linkage arrangement which links this to, I think, this side of this section, which is going across the top of the transmission tunnel, and that links up that end that comes back inside the cab for this assembly, which is the hand throttle. So as you move that thing along its positions, it rotates that shaft, which goes through the bulkhead and rotates that up and down, and through a complex system of trapdoors and pulleys shifts. I think, because this can go so far and then it engages on that dog, so moves it up so you can rev it faster than whatever the throttle neutral position is. Don't know what that one's for. That's obviously the linkage that goes to the, or went to the throttle on the diesel that was in there, and all that lot's got to come off. I want to try and keep that linkage set up, and then I've got to set some kind of bracketry up, and I can't think where I've put the there's a throttle cable that I took off the Landrover Discovery where the engine came out of, and obviously that connects directly up to the high pressure pump, so that's what we'll try and connect it up to. But as you can see, it's all in a bit of a state, so a bit of wire brush time, and might even threaten it with paint. It just makes me laugh though, that. I mean, I know it's functional, but I'm guessing they just happen to have a few spare ones left from whatever they've been making before. Who knows? So those two blanked holes there, and then the other two fitted behind the filter and underneath the pipe that I've just put on for the clutch. They've got to be drilled through to connect up those brackets, and I've got a horrible feeling I've got the same problem down there. But I need that linkage on, so I've got to work out where to bring the brake pipes up, connect them up to the master cylinder. So I figured before I start putting them in and then needing to modify them, I might as well get the other bits in first. We're slowly making progress. Been wrestling with making up hydraulic lines for the clutch. It's not my forte, first time I've ever done it, and I think I've gone through 1.5 meters in the first 30 centimetre run. Or if you like, I've used 5 foot of tube, got it wrong 18 times until I got something that would work. You live and learn. I thought I'd have a go at setting up this, what do you call it? Gas pedal, go pedal linkage. Anyway, when I've come to do it, I couldn't get that shaft to sit anywhere near looking something like horizontal or parallel. It was always on the pedal, and no matter how I did it, I either ended up, the shaft was too short or the shaft was on the pedal. Anyway, what I've concluded is that this panel, which was given to me by the guys from Birmingham that helped make up my bulkhead, or gave me the advice and sent me the parts, it got some holes pre-drilled, and I've just literally gone through the centre of them, drilled them through to the footwells, and they're actually about 1 inch too far apart for this application. So I had two options: order a new bit of shafting and wait however long that takes to arrive, or make up a new bracket, which is what I've done. It's not brilliant, but it's put things fairly adjacent. What I've got to now work out is there's some random springs that fit somewhere. Yes, I know that sounds a bit odd, I just can't remember what goes where. So that's the existing, or the original wire cable for the throttle, and that needs connecting up, or an alternative arrangement to somewhere down here. So I've got to have a way up of that. That seems to be that bracket there. It was I can't remember what was on it, and that's a bit of a concern. The other thing I've found is where this shaft now sits, it's directly above me clutch linkage hydraulic cable, so I've got to probably massage that a bit. And having looked at it again, I think I'll remake it anyway, which probably means I go buy another 2 meters of flipping 1/4 inch cunifer, but there we go. So we've got pedal assembly comes out onto a linkage, and as that linkage goes upwards, it's rotating that. Nothing's tightened, so nothing's going to rotate at the moment, but it's that kind of a setup. The bit I've got to do now is the hand throttle from inside and try and work out how that goes together. Once I've got it all sussed out, I'll take the whole thing off as a fixed unit, we're undoing these bracket linkages and separating these, and then I can touch up all the paintwork that's been chewed up, and I've got to paint that bracket from scratch. Yeah, this is why stuff takes so flipping long. Anyway, progress is progress. Right, well, we're trying to weigh up how to do the throttle connection. I've got the Discovery throttle cable through. It's on there, and you can just see that underneath that screw. It goes through and it sits on a little pinned clevis. It's a bit tight because somebody put the air filter bracketry all in the way. Anyway, it comes back, the cable's way too long, and it terminates like this for another little throttle thing. The only thing I've got to do is hold that position fixed so that as that cable is pulled, it transfers that direction. The original assembly's here, and it's a similar kind of thing, slightly more convoluted because the outer cable's trapped and the inner cable can move, which struggling to get my head round. But what I'm thinking is, if I can take this assembly off and come up with a means by which I can grab the end of that, then all I need to do is come up with a complex system of trapdoors. Oh, that's my torch gone out. My rechargeable light's got a lifespan of about 4 minutes, it seems. What I'm thinking is I might be able to come off right here with a bracket with a hole in it, and if I can get this bloody thing to move again, stick that like that, so that then it can be pulled up on that bit, even if I need to make another sorry, I keep drifting off, even if I need to make another mod to that, just so it catches the end. The main problem with that is the throttle cable, having got to that point, starts drooping all the way down, and it's not ideal, but I can't see another way of doing that without trying to shorten the cable, and shortening the cable would mean that, or the thing would mean I lose the end, and I don't want to do that because these are quite robust, not like these early ones, which are crap. Functional, I think they call them. So that's what my current head dilemma is. On the inside, got the hand connection bracketry all fitted by the front bit of plastic, and that comes through there, toggles up, fits on there, and that dog has got a little dog on it, so that bracket, you set that to your idle, and then obviously as that bracket pushes up, it pulls the idle around and mimics what's going on that end. So I'm alright with that, except for I've got nothing to pin it with. I can't seem to find, there are no clips or anything, which is unusual, although I have a vague memory of something going ka-ching when I was taking it all apart 3 years ago. Anyway, we'll sort something. Got one of those, I can't remember what they're called, they're like a washer with serrations on the inside, and they go over a shaft and stick basically. All I'm left with is that bracket. Can't think what the hell that was connected up to, unless it was some kind of I don't know, because I've got all the bits that came off are with it. They're all on there now, so I don't know, but that might lend itself a bit easier to modify for this. I don't think the throw matters as long as it's, I just need to check how far that cable's got to move and then make sure that the rotation from the pedal gives me that degree of movement. So yeah, I might end up shifting that bracket over to this side. I don't think it really matters. Anyway, I'll waffle on. I've come unstuck because where all this paraphernalia is, right in the way of that. So now I've got these holes were pre-drilled, so now I've got to make a bracket to shift that over. Hey, I love it when a plan falls apart. Anyway, it's no big deal. I've got to make a bracket to carry the end of this throttle cable and mount it somewhere down here, so it'll give me another set of holes and another pair of nuts to grind the end of my toe on in the footwell. But then I think we're about there on that. And then I've just got to, that's it, drop to the deck. I've got to take this lot off, modify the end of that so it'll capture that clevis pin. Job's a good one, nearly, and it's raining and it's candlelight. So I've made up a stainless steel bracket, bolted onto the bulkhead. And I'm just weighing up whether, and I haven't tightened it yet because I can't get, I haven't got long enough arms to go all the way around. I'm just weighing up whether it wants a stiffener brace from the middle down to the bottom to stop it yawning. If I pull the cable, you can watch it move, yeah. And all that's, you can see flex at the bottom, but I think it's actually flexing on the bulkhead. So I think even if I stiffened it up, it's probably not going to make any difference. But basically every bit of flex is a bit less, it's a bit more vagueness on the throttle, but it's a diesel, so yeah, I'm not looking at slick gear changes. So all that remains is block that off. I've got to order some more 1/4 inch conifer to connect that, and I'll probably tack it up round the back there and loop it over, sort of over here. I've got basically 2 inches too little, so I'll do it again. Take this off, paint that bracket and modify the end of that to take that. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I'll just sit here and waffle for a bit. Also got to tighten up that thing, so I've got to get my long torque wrench out. So the next task is to modify the end of this lever to carry the end of the throttle cable. I've picked the what I can only regard as the redundant lever because I can't see that it operates anything, just because it's a slightly better fit. So what I've got to do is basically add a piece on so that the throttle cable can go in the middle. So I've got to weld up a stack and then weld the stack like that and then drill it through there onto the other one and shape it round. So first job, the reason I need a stack is I need a 5mm gap, and this is 3mm thick, so I'm going to weld it as 3 and then grind a bit back and then weld it onto the other one. If memory serves and it's glowing purple and clicking, it's a bit hot, so we'll leave it for a few minutes. Yeah, so what I'm talking about is this bracket here, which is the linkage onto the pedal shaft, I think that is going to come that way along the shaft, so that the underside of this arm sits on this bracket. I can't see any other reason for the bracket being shaped like that. And then that would provide a fixed position as a stop and set the resting height of the pedal, and then it moves up from there. So it just means a bit of shuffling about and then hopefully weigh it up. Yeah, now I've tightened that up, it's pretty damn firm, so I don't need to do any more on that. I would have been happier with that position being like maybe 2-3 inches higher up here somewhere, so that that is pulling from a more the arc that it's travelling through would mean that you've got a sort of slow into an increased responsiveness back to a slow, whereas at the moment it's kind of a slight movement on the pedal will give quite a bit of movement on that, or the same movement I should say. But I mean, the only way I could achieve that is by slicing that, putting a spacing piece in and lifting the whole lot up and welding them back on, which, you know, if I need to do that, that's what I'll do. But I can't really tell until I've got the engine running and see how the responsiveness of the pump is to the actuator. That almost sounded convincing. Linkage. If I can find the pedal with my left arm. Oh. Only thing I don't know is how much you got to move that cable to give you the right amount of throttle, kind of thing, because depending on where it is in its arc, the rotation of that determines how much that outer point moves and therefore pulling the throttle. I think it needs to start much nearer sort of the apex of its curve, but I could be talking crap. So I'm currently deliberating on, I don't like the way that that's set up. There's not a lot of pedal movement bringing it back to this stop. It looks to be making the full I'm making 3/4 of the turn. What I'm thinking is basically cut that, put a dog leg in and lift it 2 inches so that it'll be up there somewhere before it starts doing its movement. I'm just unhappy with that. Wish I knew what went on there, but I'll have to go back and have a look through the books again, because the photos I've got from it don't show anything. No, I think there was a spring on there as a return spring, but it's like there's 2 little holes on these which were some kind of return spring mechanism. So whether one went from here to there, it seems a hell of a long bloody spring, but there you go. So I mean, there's only, I think it's something like 2 inches of movement I need to generate. So it's not going to move around in a big arc, but yeah, not happy with that at the moment. Of course, if I had the engine running I could check it, but I ain't got the engine running. I'm a ways off that yet. What I'm wondering now is, by the time if I put that there, so just make another hole and stick it across a bit, it still fouls. So it looks like I've got to move it to here, and looking at it, I might swap those inlets and move the one on the right hand side to the one to the left hand side. That'll move that fluid cable further from the head, and I've got a bit more of that pipe, so I think that's probably the way I'll go with that. Yeah, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Well, it's Friday again, that'll soon come round. I was hoping to get the next video uploaded this morning, which is all about the linkage for the throttle, and if you're watching up to this bit, you've obviously seen me put it all in and stick that bracket in there, and a bit of stainless and whatever. I can't finish it off until I've got that clutch pipe in, and I'm waiting for some 1/4 inch conifer brake lining, brake pipe, sorry. I ordered it. It's supposed to be on 24-hour delivery. It took a week. When it arrived, it was copper, not conifer. So I sent it back with a fairly sternly worded email, and I've ordered another set, which will be another couple of days. So that seems to be the way things are going at the moment, because I want to get that pipe on, which connects up to here, and then basically I can just make sure I've got clearance over everything. The final bits to resolve are some kind of return spring between this actuator here and some anchor point somewhere, so that when the brake pedals, when the accelerator's pushed, it's not just relying on the spring on the end of the throttle cable, which goes all the way down up here. Yeah, you can't see, it's a rat's nest down there. Anyway, yes, I can't actually show you all that lot finished, which is frustrating. I still remain unsure as to whether I modify this bracket and bring that point up 2 inches or 2.5, maybe even 3 inches, so that that actuator can be put over a little bit more, which will make the throttle slightly less responsive on initial, and give me more throw. So if it's set to there, moves a small amount and then a bit more, and then it's slightly less. I mean, it's only moving through about 45 degrees, but at the moment I'm just not completely happy with it, but it's a small thing. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for my heat exchanger. I think I'll have to go and pick that up on Saturday or Sunday. Get the snail fan and the heat exchanger plumbed in, and hopefully I can get the wings on next week. Once the wings are on, I can get the lights in. Once the lights are in, I can start looking at laying out the loom. I'll be honest with you, I'm fed up with the broomstick holding up the bonnet every time, because I keep forgetting it. Once that lot's on, the wiring loom, I can start putting some fluids in it. Meanwhile, in the business end of it, finally got the seat belts all mounted up. So we got, I think you call them inertia belts. One of those, I had to buy the brackets. I'll show you those being fitted, and the seat belts. And then came unstuck because the brackets that I'd bought to mount underneath here to replace the rusty ones, they come through. They should have been the same thread as these, which is a UNF. Don't ask me what it is, 7/16, I think. Anyway, they were M12, and I hadn't realised. I started winding the bolt through, and then thought, oh, that's getting a bit tight. Couldn't work it out what was going on, and it's a bit of a faff getting underneath and digging it all out. So I ended up phoning the manufacturer and said, oh no, you've obviously got Defender ones, you need series ones. I said, well, I ordered series ones. Checked the order, and yep, error on their end, picking the wrong thing. So they sent me another one through, and of course by that time I've buggered all the bolts up, so I ended up with that one's done through on M12, and this one's UNF, which at some stage I'll change. Now they're in, I can get the seat swabs in. I'm still waiting for these rubber bungs here. I can do those. I've got that's the box of screws to mount through here into the, well, through there and through there. What else going to do? I've spent a bit of time making up the bracketry for fitting over there, and that's all ready for painting now. Meanwhile, I've been looking at trying to work out how many blooming splines are on that. It's either 32 or 46. It's looking like 46, because I want to put a removable steering wheel on with a locking boss for one other thing to help prevent it getting nicked. Forget, if you cannot steer it, you're unlikely to want to nick it, aren't you? But they're mega money. It's not much change out of about 600 quid by the time you bought everything. But So I'm going to have to do a lot more videos at £3 a shot. Yeah, that's about it now. Well, my brake tubing's arrived. Said it was tomorrow, so it's arrived 24 hours early, which is basically next day delivery. Classic or vintage car guy on eBay. Anyway, so that's arrived, so I thought I'd make up that clutch thing. I ended up buying myself a flaring tool. With the benefit of hindsight, I should have gone the other direction and bought a different tool. So I bought one of these, basically because it comes with 1/4 inch and is it 3/16, and then the flaring tools with it. I think it was 130 quid. Not cheap. I mean, it's bloody good, but not cheap. However, can't use it in one hand, has to be in a vise. I've tried wrestling with it with an adjustable spanner on that, and then working the jaw in and out against that. It's doable, but it's not really practicable. With the benefit of hindsight, I should have bought the system which you can basically hold up with one hand and tighten it up with a spanner, and they're about 40 quid, but you live and learn. Anyway, so I want to get that thing set up and find my sample wherever. I think I might have left that in the bonnet. Bring you back. So that's pretty much what we've got to produce, but I need a slightly better bend here, and I need a bit more length here. So I've lashed myself off a bit. I'm going to do, starting from this end, which is the most tricky bit to do, and I need to recover these fittings off this donor. So what I'm going to do first is put the flare on the end on that and try and reproduce that bend. Well, I won't lie again, that's been an absolute pain in the rear end. So I put a new union on the new master cylinder, then it drops down to 1/4 inch, so it's, I think it's a metric thread adapter into whatever the 16th is on the that. Just trying to get it clear behind the back of that shaft, but enough room on the vertical for me to be able to use my crimping tool, the flaring tool. Anyway, it's in, it's done. I'm not thoroughly nipped it up because I've still got to purge that. So that's took 2.5 hours. Jesus. With the benefit of hindsight, and having read a bit more on the forums, I read a post where a guy had basically replaced that flexi and the solid that goes round all the way to the slave cylinder with one long high performance flexi cable, and in the process of doing it, took out 1, 2, 3 joints. I think he paid 54 quid for it. Well, I think for the tenner it'd be worth doing that over what it's cost me for the 1/4 inch conifer and fittings and cocking about. Anyway, you live and learn. That's the disaster pool of that was the first, no, yeah, that was the first one. Scrap that. That was the second one, which I started off with today. Cut the end off to retrieve it. Cut my first length of pipe, put my first bend in it this end, and the pipe collapsed. So I decided that's clearly too much of a bend to try and do. Thought, well, I made it 8 inches longer, so I thought I'd try the other end. In the process of straightening it out, the bloody thing won't grip in the jaws of the flaring tool, so I scrapped that one. That's the offcut off the metre long length that I originally bought. Is it metre or metre and a half? No, metre. So then bought a 35 foot length, so I've got some to play at. Thoroughly unimpressed with these, and yet my mate does really well with them. I think the 1/4 inch pipe's just a little bit reluctant to do anything. Whenever it bends, it seems to close up. If you look on the back end of that, you see, and then obviously once you get a kink in it, it fails. So yeah, that works, but yeah, would have been better with or would have saved myself best part of 100 quid going for the handheld version. Hey ho. Somebody thinks it's tea time. Don't.